Britain's political landscape is fracturing, and the tremors are shaking Westminster to its core. The unthinkable has become reality. Keir Starmer, once Labour's great hope, is now a leader on the brink, his authority shattered by a devastating by-election loss in Runcorn and Helsby. Reform UK, led by the unrelenting Nigel Farage, snatched a historic Labour stronghold by a razor-thin 25 votes, the narrowest margin in British by-election history. This wasn't just a local upset, it was a seismic jolt exposing the rot in the two-party system. Labour is imploding, the Conservatives are crumbling, and Reform UK is surging as a raw, unpolished force channeling the nation's rage. Britain isn't just heading toward another election. It's barreling toward a reckoning that could redefine its political future. The Runcorn and Helsby defeat was a dagger to Labour's heart. For decades, the seat was a Labour fortress, a symbol of working-class loyalty. But that loyalty has been betrayed, and voters delivered a brutal verdict. Farage's Reform UK, once dismissed as a fringe protest movement, capitalized on mounting fury over Labour's cuts to winter fuel payments and disability benefits. Pensioners are freezing, disabled citizens are struggling, and lifelong Labour supporters feel abandoned by a party they no longer recognize. Starmer's vision of grown-up politics rings hollow when MPs pocket bloated salaries while preaching sacrifice. Behind closed doors, sources say Starmer broke down in tears, overwhelmed by defections, rebellion, and polls in freefall. His snap general election call wasn't a bold strategy, it was a desperate bid to cling to power. Labour's collapse is no isolated crisis. It's a symptom of a broader, angrier shift. The Conservative Party is in equal disarray, hemorrhaging support after losing 13 councils and over 600 seats in recent local elections. Kemi Badenoch, tasked with holding the Tories together, is floundering amid internal feuds and a base that feels ignored. Both major parties are bleeding voters to Reform UK, which has transformed from a noisy outsider into a genuine threat. Farage's blunt, unscripted style resonates with a public fed up with polished platitudes. Inflation is crushing families, wages are stagnant, NHS waiting lists are ballooning, and homeownership feels like a pipe dream. Crime is spiking, trust in government is evaporating, and the establishment's promises sound like recycled lies. Reform UK isn't just a party, it's a middle finger to a system that's failed. The public's anger isn't abstract, it's visceral. Working-class communities, especially in the North and Midlands, feel used and discarded. Labour's once proud message of solidarity has been diluted by corporate pandering and metropolitan elitism. The Tories, meanwhile, have little to offer beyond austerity scars and broken pledges of economic revival. Into this void steps Farage, unapologetic and unrelenting. His authenticity, raw, imperfect, and divisive, cuts through the noise. Whether you agree with him or not, he's saying what millions think but feel silence from expressing. Reform UK is uniting disillusioned Labour voters, frustrated Tories, and centrists who feel ignored. It's no longer a protest vote, it's a movement shaking the foundations of British democracy. But the crisis runs deeper than party politics. A recent scandal involving Labour MP Lucy Powell has poured fuel on the fire. During a BBC Radio 4 panel, commentator Tim Montgomery referenced a Channel 4 documentary exposing the abuse of 5 women by grooming gangs. Powell's response was a dismissive sneer. "Oh, we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we?" The backlash was swift and ferocious. Critics accused her of trivializing child exploitation, using a grave issue as a political shield. Powell's apology, claiming she'd misspoken, did little to quell the outrage. Her words reinforced a growing perception. Labour is elitist, out of touch, and more concerned with optics than justice. Conservative co-chair Nigel Huddleston called her remarks disgraceful, accusing Labour of dodging accountability to protect its councils. Victims' advocates like Marlon West, a father of a grooming survivor, demanded action, not excuses. The controversy has become a lightning rod, exposing Labour's failure to address sensitive issues with the seriousness they deserve. This isn't just about one MP's misstep, it's about a system that's lost its way. The public is demanding accountability, but Westminster delivers deflections. Downing Street's vague response to Powell's comments, expressing disappointment, without clear action, only deepens distrust. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp called Number 10's stance pathetic, insisting a national inquiry into grooming gangs is about justice, not politics. The public agrees, and Labour's reluctance to act decisively fuels suspicions of a cover-up. As trust erodes, Reform UK seizes the moment, positioning itself as the only party willing to confront uncomfortable truths head-on. The snap election Starmer called is a gamble he may not survive. Labour MPs are defecting to Reform UK, praising Farage for listening to ordinary people. Backbenchers are in open revolt, and grassroots activists are abandoning ship. Once reliable Labour heartlands are now battlegrounds where every vote is up for grabs. The Tories fare no better, fractured by infighting and ethical scandals. Badenoch's leadership is under siege, with traditional conservative values feeling disconnected from working-class realities. Both parties are bleeding support to Reform UK, which thrives on its straightforwardness. Farage's town hall rants and local radio interviews go viral not for their polish, but for their honesty. In contrast, Labour and Tory campaigns feel staged, their messaging artificial in a time when voters crave truth. The media isn't helping. Once gatekeepers of public discourse, many outlets are now seen as establishment mouthpieces, accused of bias to protect legacy parties. Social media, meanwhile, has become the new battleground, amplifying Farage's raw authenticity. His unfiltered style resonates where carefully curated soundbites fall flat. But Reform UK's rise isn't without risks. Critics warn its rhetoric lacks detailed policy, and tapping into public rage without clear solutions could deepen cynicism. As the party gains influence, it faces growing scrutiny over whether it can govern or merely disrupt. Britain stands at a crossroads. The general election isn't just a vote, it's a potential revolution. The old rules are crumbling, and loyalty to traditional parties no longer guarantees success. Voters are volatile, skeptical, and ready to abandon historic allegiances for alternatives that speak to their struggles. Reform UK's breakthrough in Runcorn and Helsby was no fluke, it was a warning. The public is done with promises, they want action. Labour's collapse, the Tories' disarray, and Reform's surge reflect a deeper truth. The system is broken, and people are revolting. This upheaval carries both promise and peril. A fractured parliament could lead to instability, with power vacuums ripe for exploitation. The tone of debate is growing confrontational, nuance drowned out by outrage. Yet many see this shakeup as overdue. For too long, politicians have operated in a bubble, detached from the cost of living crisis, NHS backlogs, and rising crime. These aren't policy debates, they're daily hardships. Reform UK's ascent is about urgency, a demand for politics that's less performative and more real. As the campaign intensifies, Labour and the Tories are scrambling to regain ground. Starmer's unifying tone feels like too little too late. Leaks, resignations, and hostile headlines dominate, while Badenoch struggles to unite a divided Conservative base. Farage, polarizing yet undeniable, has tapped into a national mood of betrayal and neglect. His critics question his methods, but his impact is reshaping the conversation. The weeks ahead will test every party. Voters aren't just watching for promises, they're demanding authenticity and resolve. The old playbooks are obsolete. Clarity trumps caution, conviction beats compromise, and ignoring public anger is a death sentence. Britain is on the brink of transformation. Whether it brings renewal or chaos depends on what leaders do with the message they've been sent. The storm is here, the center is breaking, and a new political order is clawing its way to the surface. The future of British politics hangs in the balance, and the fight for it is only beginning.